Hey guys, Zombie here, and welcome back to another Back 4 Blood beta video. Now today's video is going to be about the multiplayer, or the versus cards. I'm going to go over all of them, and the reason I'm making this video is someone in the comment section of one of my other videos asked for this kind of video. So quickly before we get started, if you have any ideas for videos you'd like to see before the beta ends, definitely let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there, please subscribe also for lots of Back 4 Blood content as well as some other games. According to the stats, over 98.5% of people who watch my videos are not subscribed, and most of those views in the last 28 days are from Back 4 Blood content. So if you like Back 4 Blood, definitely consider clicking that subscribe button. Also in the description is my Discord, where I'll announce new videos, as well as when I go live on Twitch, and my Twitch is also in the description. My Twitter, and my Clips channel, which has some funny Back 4 Blood clips. Without any further ado, let's hop right on in. So let's head over to versus decks. Let's show the locked cards, which actually in the beta there's no locked multiplayer cards or versus cards. So I'm going to try to do it in under 30 seconds like I did with the gun review, so we can go through nice and quick. Let's jump straight in. We have Breakout first. You hold E to free yourself from grabs, and it says plus 50% Breakout cooldown reduction, base 60 seconds. So I assume it's stacking onto itself, like it's making it so you can do it every 30 seconds instead. So normally it's 60 seconds, but because of the card that you're using, it makes 30. I don't fully understand, but it's one of the best cards in the game, because if you get pinned by a hawker or you get grabbed by a charger, being able to break out is massive, especially if you're solo or you're kind of away from your team. You wouldn't want to do that. You wouldn't want to be away, but if you are, very, very good. Combat Medic. It is okay. The use speed is nice to heal people faster. But when you pick up teammates, they have 20 additional health. It's whatever. It's not great. It's okay. It's not great. Fire in the hole. When you throw an offensive accessory, gain 20 temporary health and plus 20% move speed for 10 seconds. This isn't terrible, especially because it gives you another way to regen some health, even though it's only temporary and for 10 seconds. If you throw a pipe bomb or a Molotov or a grenade or whatever, you get some move speed and you get some health. Not great, not horrible. I think it's decent. I think it's pretty good. Medical Expert, plus 15% healing efficiency. When you use a medical accessory, you gain plus 15% movement speed for 15 seconds. It's not great. There's other cards rather that give you better healing efficiency, and the movement speed after using a healing item is largely unnecessary, because usually when you're healing someone, you are kind of hunkered down, you're kind of fortifying where you're currently standing. Mandatory PT, the whole team gets plus 10% stamina. It's okay. Stamina is decent for multiplayer, because sometimes you have to run a bit if you're trying to get from one place to another when the circle is closing, so you don't take that swarm damage. It's okay. There's not really too much more to say about it. Pep in your step. Precision kills grant you 10% movement speed for 5 seconds. Very bad. You have to get a headshot, which isn't terrible, but the movement speed doesn't really matter, because for the most part, you're kind of hunkered down anyway. I guess you could argue you can get a headshot and try to move from point A to point B, but it's just very niche, and I don't think it's worth grabbing as a card for your decks. Evasive action. When you take a hit for 10 or more damage, gain plus 20% movement speed for 3 seconds. I think it's pretty bad. You have to take a big hit for it to activate. The move speed really doesn't matter that much, I don't think. Usually, when there's stuff going on, you're fortifying. Maybe you're trying to get away from a bruiser or something, so maybe you can try to justify this one a little bit. I just think there's other cards that are better, but it's definitely not the worst card of all of them. I just don't think it's that great. I think it's too niche. Miraculous Recovery. When you use a medical accessory, if you have a 25% chance to have a 100% increased effect. So it doubles the healing or temporary health or whatever you're doing. If you're a gambling man, this is a really good card, because it only activates 1 in 4 times on average. It could be huge in certain situations. I just prefer the more guaranteed stuff, so I don't personally like it, but it can have some pretty massive effects if you're willing to take the risk. Stimulants. Pain meds also apply plus 10% movement speed, plus 10% reload speed, and plus 10% weapon swap speed for 30 seconds. This is pretty good, especially because there's not too many healing items on the map, so after you use the bandages or the med kits, which you might not even get a med kit, there's a lot of pain meds around too. The temporary health overheal is good, and then granting some extra benefits is good as well. I don't think it's that great. I think the pills themselves are stronger than the card. But if you're using pills, I think it's hard to justify a spot in the deck for me personally, but I definitely think this could be a card people run. Just for me personally, it's not the greatest, but I do think it has some use. Power swap. Changing weapons within 3/4 of a second of reaching low ammo grants 20% damage for 5 seconds. I think that's bad. Yeah, you have 3/4 of a second of a time window to do it, and then you get plus 20% damage for 5 seconds. I guess if you get really good at it, it might be one of the best cards, but I just can't imagine using it. I guess if you have a pistol that has not great... I guess if it's a single fire like revolver or just a pistol, you can get to low ammo, instantly switch, and use it as a way to destroy like bruisers or crushers, but I haven't really seen it. It might have some really cool use, but as of right now, I do not use it. Next up, we have Ridden Slayer. Plus 35% weak spot damage. I think this is actually pretty good. You should be aiming for weak spots, especially on the special infected. It's different for each one. For example, the Hawker is the chest. The Bruiser is like the top of the shoulder where the big arm is. So it's different from zombie to zombie, but I think having extra weak spot damage is good, especially if you're pretty accurate and can hit your shots. Shooting Gloves, plus 50% weapon swap speed. I think this is pretty bad. I guess you can kind of try to combo it with another card that makes it so you reload when something is stowed. But I think it's generally just not going to be worth picking it up. There's other cards that are probably more beneficial to you. Screwdriver, plus 50% use speed. It's very, very, very good on your support, on the person who's healing. So, for example, I usually play Mom and play Medic, so I'm using a lot of healing items, and I'll kind of get into what cards I use for that in a moment. But having a much quicker heal is good. Marathon Runner, plus 5% movement speed and no movement penalty for strafing side to side or moving backwards. So I guess there's a slight movement penalty for not moving forwards, and it removes that as well. I think it's not worth the card. Movement, I mean, usually in versus, at least right now in the beta, you're hunkering down, kind of finding somewhere indoors to try to avoid hawkers, and then you're moving outside when they bring in something like an exploder, but you're not really like running across the map over and over, so movement speed I don't think is that great. Reload drills, plus 30% reload speed. I think this is fine. I think it's good. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's bad. I think it's just good. Reload speed is nice, especially if you're using something like a shotgun where you're reloading one shell at a time. It could end up helping you out a ton. But for the most part, I would just say it's good. Superior cardio, plus 50% sprint efficiency and plus 5 health. I think it's decent. On the bad side, I think it's a card, and I think there's other cards that are better, but I think if you're sprinting around a lot for whatever reason, it's probably worth. But I don't see why, in this current meta in the beta, why you would ever really be running around all over the place. Cross Trainers, plus 40% stamina and plus 10 health. Again, I think it's okay. I think if you're running a melee build for whatever reason, which I think would be very weird considering, the players are the special infected and you're not really going to be meleeing them. But if you are, for whatever reason, the stamina is probably nice, but I think it's just not great. Plus 40% aim speed. This refers to aiming down sights, and I believe aiming, like, releasing it and going back to the hip fire, that transition is faster. I think it's fine. I think it's good. I think being able to aim down sight quick is decent, but in this game, hip firing is pretty accurate on most weapons. So it's really, I guess, a preference thing. But I think there's other cards that are better. I'm going to get to them in a minute. Some of these cards in here are really, really good, so just bear with me. Ammo pouch, plus 25% ammo capacity. I think this is bad, and that is because even if you can't hold as much ammo, the ammo in the ammo crates are going to stay there. And the issue usually isn't so much that there isn't ammo available, it's that you can't get to it. I don't know. I guess maybe that makes it better, that you can hold more at once, but then you might also hog from your teammates, then if you go down, you can't drop them. I just feel like ammo shouldn't be your main priority in playing versus. It should be more of trying to stay alive, and I guess ammo can help you with that. So maybe my perception's wrong. Maybe this is a good card. If you like this card, let me know and help me understand. I guess, because if the swarm eats an ammo cache, you'd rather have it picked up. I guess that's a justification, but again, I think there's other cards better, but actually I think this, now after thinking about it for another second, it might be good. Combat training, plus 5% damage dealt and plus 50% bullet penetration. I think it's okay. The extra damage is good. Bullet penetration is good for trying to clear out hordes of zombies coming at you in a straight line or, kind of on top of each other. I don't think there's too much to add there, to be honest. Let's just move on. This is one of my favorite cards. So I play Mom on the Medic class, like I mentioned. Charitable Soul. Healing a teammate also heals you for 100% of the amount healed. So what basically, if I heal you for 25 health, I also heal myself for 25 health because I healed you. So using this card, you can have all your teammates drop you support items. They can hold them just to store them in their inventory. And then when it's time to heal, they can drop it. I can pick it up as mom, heal someone, I also heal myself. I'm also going to jump quickly around and it'll make sense and I'll go back to everything. Just don't worry. Another one of my favorite cards, Group Therapy. When you use a medical accessory, all your teammates heal for 10 health. So not only am I healing you and myself, but then we all heal an additional 10, which is amazing. I think this is another one of the greatest cards. And then there's this one. I think it's pronounced Poultice. Maybe it's Poultice. I think it's Poultice, but whatever it is. Whenever you heal a teammate, they heal for an additional 15 health over 30 seconds, which is great. It's a little bit slow, but because you're healing everyone with group therapy and you're healing yourself, you're just basically healing your whole team and then healing them over time if it stacks. And I think it does, but it's really hard to test with no custom games. So if someone knows if this doesn't stack or does stack, definitely let me know. I'm under the impression it does. This is what I run in my games. I run all three of these cards. Because I'm playing medic. Obviously there's different cards that are good for different roles, but I think these three cards especially together are unbelievable. Hunker Down. While crouching, gain 20% damage resistance and plus 12.5% accuracy. I think this is a good card. This is a good card because the extra damage resistance is great. You can crouch, so you can be kind of sitting in front of someone watching the same angle and they won't shoot you in the back. As of my testing, there's no friendly fire, even though they'll still be like, hey, don't shoot me, man. There's no friendly, like, it doesn't do damage in multiplayer. That might change for the full release, but crouching and getting damage resistance, I think, is good. Especially because if the common are swarming you, you can just crouch while you take them out and take less damage. In the zone, precision kills grant 5% reload speed for 5 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. This is a little bit better than the other one because it can stack, but only 5 seconds. I mean, getting 10 headshots in under 5 seconds, I guess is possible, but I just think it's not very realistic with the fire rate on most weapons, and the weapons that do shoot fast enough don't do any damage. So I think it's not as bad as the other one, but I still think it's pretty bad. Ammo for all, plus 10% team ammo capacity. Now this is a much better version of this, even though this is 25%, this is a solo, this is your whole team. I would argue this is far better than the other one, and could actually be a great card, to be honest, because it does solve that same kind of problem of you don't want to leave behind ammo in an ammo crate. So maybe this one would be the way to go, and it gives it to your whole team, so it's not just you, everyone can pick up the ammo, which I think is probably pretty good. We already went over Poultice and group therapy, so now we're at medical professional. First aids and defibrillators also recover 10 trauma damage and 1 extra life. Now, in multiplayer, in versus, I think this is a bad card. I think this will be one of the strongest cards in campaign, but I think in versus, this isn't great. And the reason is, you're not terribly concerned with trauma damage or dying on downs. At least I'm not, personally. There's also, again, defibs, which you can use to pick people up if they die. The extra life refers to you can go down one more time before you take damage that would down you, and you just die instead. So after a certain number of downs, you will die on the next, what would have been down, and that's what this extra life is referring to. I think generally you're not too worried about that in versus. You're worried about your whole team dying at the same time, and not someone dying because they got picked up and died over and over, because that just generally isn't how the games go. Next up, we have Patient Hunter. Each second you aim down sights increases your damage by 10% up to 3 stacks. I think this can be pretty good on like a DPS type character, so I'm pretty sure it's Walker who has the extra damage, but I might be wrong. Maybe it's Evangel. No, I think it's Walker. I could be wrong, but someone who's doing damage, preemptively ADS and just hold it and get 30% bonus damage, I think this could actually be very, very good on someone who's aiming to do a lot of damage to the enemy team. Power reload. Reloading a gun within 3/4 of a second of reaching low ammo will increase its magazine size by 30% until the next reload. I think this could be really, really strong in the future when people start to optimize multiplayer. Right now, I think it's bad, but I definitely think there's potential here to be really good. Similarly to the other one that was 3/4 of a second. I don't remember exactly where it was. Right here. Changing weapons within 3/4 of a second of reaching low ammo grants 20% damage. I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of a weird card that doesn't work currently because we don't have enough people testing and playing and trying to figure out the meta. I think, again, in the future it could be, but right now I would avoid it. Marked for Death. This is another one of the best cards currently, in my opinion. Mutations you ping are highlighted, and your team deals 10% increased damage to highlighted enemies. So this refers to when you use the ping. On PC, the default is Q, but I rebound it to my middle mouse, like the mouse wheel. So if you ping a zombie, a human-controlled special infected, it'll highlight them through walls for about, I don't know, 15 to 20 seconds. So you can see where they're moving, which is great, because normally if you just ping them, it just says they were here, and then they can move, and then they're not there anymore. So you get to see them through walls, and everyone does bonus damage. I think this is an amazing card that more people should run. Front sight focus. I have a hard time speaking sometimes. Plus 30% accuracy. I think it's not great. That's about all I have to say. I think it's bad. Inspiring Sacrifice. When your teammate becomes incapacitated, all teammates heal 25 over 10 seconds. This is my starting card. I actually usually run default medic. I have to alter it a little bit to make it a little bit stronger. But I'll probably keep this as my starting card just because it, again, provides healing to the whole team. I believe it'll stack with Poultice to heal additional health over another 30 seconds. I think this is a pretty good card, especially because if someone goes down, your team might be in a bad spot at low health, and one person going down can help everyone else heal up a bit. And with Mom's one free insta revive, like insta pickup, I think this is a very good card. Experienced EMT. When you use a medical accessory, the target gains plus 20% maximum health until the end of the level. I think this is really, really good, especially because if you use different use speed boosts, you can heal a lot faster. Plus 20% maximum health is good. You have a bit of trauma, so it's not, I don't think it's quite going to be 20%. It's going to be a little bit less depending on the percentage of trauma you have. But I do think just having this, you know, you're already healing faster, you're healing the whole team. But this is something that only the target will gain the maximum health, not whoever gets healed. Like, so the other ones that say your whole team will now gain health, they aren't the target. If I'm using a bandage, it's the person I'm using the bandage on gets this benefit. But I still think it's good. And I think this will be really, really good in campaign as well. Antibiotic Ointment, plus 45% healing efficiency and plus 5 health. I think this is okay on the good side. Healing a bit more, healing a bit... I'm not sure if it's faster or if it heals more. I'm under the impression it heals more. So an extra 50% is pretty good. So instead of, you know, healing, let's just say hypothetically 10, you're healing 15. I think it's pretty good. I could be mistaken about the actual mechanics of it though. Next up is Energy Bar, plus 60% stamina regeneration and plus 5 health. Again, for the same reason as before, I think you're hunkering down and not really running around that much. I think this is pretty bad. But if there's a change in the meta where you're running around a lot or using melee weapons in versus for whatever reason, this could be very, very good to get that stamina back. Confident Killer. When you or your team kills a mutation, gain 2% damage up to 100% until the end of the level. But this could actually be very strong, especially if you have a strong start. So I would get this early on, and then every time you kill an enemy, a human-controlled, you know, special infected, your whole team... oh, no, sorry, just you. And whenever you or your team kills the mutation, you get plus 2% damage up to 100%. So that would require a ton of kills, but even if you kill, you know, 5 enemies, that's 10% bonus damage, just flat. You just have a 10% bonus. Then you can use other cards to increase your damage further, and I think it could really end up snowballing into a very, very strong survivor. Next up, we have True Grit, or I should say Cleaner, I guess. True Grit. When you take a single hit for 15 or more damage, heal 8 health over 5 seconds. I think this, in theory, is a decent card, but I think you just would never really grab this card trying to play the game. I don't know. I feel like there's other cards you could run instead. I mean, I think it's decent to get some health back. I just don't know how practical it is and what exactly does over 15 damage. I know probably a bruiser left click, or, you know, I guess it'd be a right trigger on console, I would assume, might be 15 or more. I don't know. We would have to know more about exactly what does what kind of damage and, you know, stuff more along those lines. I just think that even though it's a decent looking card, I don't think it's very practical. So I'm going to say it's on the meh side. Pyro, plus 100% fire damage and plus 75 fire resistance. Kills with fire grant you 3 temporary health. I think this is very bad. This requires you to get a Molotov, which you can get, but I just feel like, I mean, it's temporary health. It's not like you get plus 3 maximum health per kill up to a certain amount. The fire resistance is fine, or I guess it could also be an explosive barrel, but not a propane tank. One of those red barrels would also be fire. I just think it's very, 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 very niche and not worth the card. Bomb Squad, plus 100% explosive damage and plus 35% explosive resistance. I also think this isn't great. It's a little bit better than the Pyro one because it applies to grenades and pipe bombs, and probably propane tanks. Propane tanks, again, are, I've mentioned it in some other videos. Propane tanks are probably the strongest thing in this game that no one really talks about. But I think it's, again, too niche to really be practical. Scar Tissue, take 1 less damage from all ridden. So this is a flat damage decrease by 1. Again, it would make more sense to if we knew the exact damage everything did, or at least a damage range. I think against normal, like common infected, this is good. So something like campaign, if you're getting swarmed, like a snitch goes off, or you scare some birds, or an alarm door, being able to have this against the common infected would be very strong, just in reducing some damage. But I think in the PvP, because a lot of the specials do so much damage and they're human controlled, one damage reduction is not enough. Face Your Fears. Gain 3 temporary health whenever you kill a ridden within 2 meters. I think this is not great, but I guess if you're, again, getting rushed by commons, this would be good. So maybe, again, this might end up being a campaign card that's decent. I think in PvP, it's not that great. Well Fed. Minus 20% stamina regen and plus 10 team health. So you personally get, less stamina regen, but your whole team gets more health. I think this is actually a decent card, especially because currently, at least, running around and using melee weapons isn't really the meta. So I think this is actually fairly decent on maybe a support. I do think there's other cards that are better, like I mentioned, but you get a bunch of cards. You get like 5 cards per round, or 4. So this is really, it could be used, I would say. But I do think like something like Poultice and Charitable Soul and Group Therapy are better, but again, you get so many cards, this might be something you end up running. Overwatch. Kills from greater than 15 meters grant 5 temporary health to teammates within 10 meters of the target. I guess my question would be, is the target you, like where you're shooting from, or is the target the ridden you're shooting? Because if it's from you, this is going to be really, really, really good. You should shoot the faraway commons and give 5 temporary health within 10 meters of you to all your teammates. That could be very strong. But if they have to be within 10 meters of the zombie you shot, and you have to be 15 meters away, I think it's kind of bad. So I guess it really depends on exactly how that works. And I wish I could have tested this. I mean, this is something I probably could test, but I haven't yet, and I apologize. So I might either leave an update in the comments or in the description, or if someone else in the comments who has tested this wants to chime in and let me know, that'd be amazing as well. 2 is 1 and 1 is none. You can equip a primary weapon in your secondary slot, minus 25% swap speed. I think this is actually a very strong card, because I don't think the pistols are all that strong. I mean, they're good. They're good as a secondary, but having a primary as a secondary, I think, is massive. You lose some swap speed, but I mean, I think that's okay. You can have 2 different ammo types, and you can have maybe a shotgun and a sniper. I think that could be funny, or like a sniper and a SMG, an assault rifle and a shotgun. Having different ammo types, as well as being able to quickly switch, not quickly, obviously, you lose swap speed, but being able to switch weapons if you're in a more situational, spot. Like, so if you're getting rushed, switching off of your sniper to a shotgun makes sense, or swapping off your sniper to an SMG if you're getting rushed by a ton of commons. I think it's a pretty good card. Chemical Courage. Pain meds you apply also grant plus 25% damage for 60 seconds. Now, I think this one is actually better than the other one that gave the reload speed and the movement speed and the weapon swap speed, because this one gives you damage. And usually you're popping pain meds when you're low health, you're in a sticky spot, and you can pop it off because meds you take so quickly that getting extra damage can help you fight off that wave of either common infected or those 2 or 3 special infected that are coming at you right now. Popping them, getting that extra overheal, and then being able to kind of destroy them with extra 25% damage, which I assume stacks with all the other damage ones we've talked about so far. I think it's a pretty great card, especially because meds are very common, and bandages are also fairly common, but medkits aren't. So after you go through some bandages, pain meds are probably what you're going to end up using anyway. Numb. Gain 15% damage resistance while you have temporary health. I don't think this is that great because it really depends on having other cards that grant temporary health or only effective when you use pain meds. So I think it's okay. I think it's really good if you have a bunch of other cards already that give you temporary health. Other than that, I would say probably stay away from the card. Vitamins, plus 25% health. 25 health is a lot of health. Usually you start with 100, so getting 25 more, then you have 125. It's literally 25% increase on your base. So I think this is actually an underrated, because it just looks kind of boring. It's just this and 25 health. It's like, well, where's the other effect? Well, 25 health is actually quite substantial. So I think this is actually an underrated great card. Second Chance, plus 1 extra life, plus 10 health. I think this is a worse version of vitamins, because like I mentioned before, the extra life isn't that important. Oh, I didn't even know how to actually explain this if you hovered over it. It says each extra life increases the number of times you can be incapacitated without dying, which is kind of what I explained before. I didn't even know it explained it in the game. So again, in PvP, you're not worried about going down so many times that you're gonna die automatically. You're more worried about going down and then the rest of your team gets either Hawker pinned or grabbed by crushers or both at the same time. So I think the extra life doesn't really matter because you're not generally going to die that way. And if you do die, there's usually a defib or two around the map that your teammates might have picked up and they can just zap you quick to pick you back up. So I think vitamins is just a better second chance in PvP. Durable, plus 50% trauma resistance and plus 5 health. In PvP, this is a bad card. I think this is a great card in campaign on harder difficulties. My mouth doesn't work. But you're not terribly worried about trauma damage in PvP because of how the rounds work. You're never really going to be full healing for the most part. So the amount of trauma damage you have is largely irrelevant for the most part. And the 5 health is good, but again, there's these other 2 cards that give you more health. So I just think it's not a great card in PvP. Grenade Pouch, plus 1 offensive inventory. I think this card is, it's okay. Having an extra pipe bomb or an extra Molotov or an extra grenade to help. Grenades, especially for like tall boy variants, can be very, very good. There might be other, I mean, actually, no, I think that's a great card considering there's only a couple left. I think if this is the only thing that really impacts offensive inventory, this is definitely a good card for PvP. Fanny Pack, plus 1 support inventory. Okay, so here's what I'll say. As someone who plays Mom as the support role using a lot of healing items, I would argue this is a largely unnecessary card. I think it's very good, especially in something like campaign, where you might find more healing items, and you can also buy healing items in campaign, where in PvP, generally, you're not going to find a load of healing items like you might in campaign. You might find a crate that has 4 and another crate that has 4. Mom holds 2, you have everyone else hold 1. Maybe you leave behind the pain meds and you can try to get back to them later. Because the thing is, when you can hold 1 extra support, it has to be the same thing. So if you have a bandage, you can only pick up another bandage. You can't pick up a bandage and a pain meds. And also, Mom has this automatically where she can already hold 2 support. So this would make it 3, which is almost overkill in my opinion. I think generally using a card for that is not going to be very worth it, considering the default ability of Mom and then the rest of your team being able to hold some healing for you. Admin Reload. When you store your weapon, it reloads minus 20% ammo capacity. I actually think this card's pretty good. Even though you lose some ammo capacity, you can still pick the ammo up out of an ammo cache if you can get back to it. And being able maybe use this with the 2 primary weapon card. So you use all your bullets and in a bad spot, still you switch weapons a little bit slower because of the other card. But then the one you just put away is now reloaded for when you pull it back out. So you can save some time on reloads and eat that kind of time by switching weapons instead. I think this is pretty good. Your secondary weapons have unlimited ammo, and your secondary weapons reload 20% slower. I think this is actually a pretty good card, believe it or not, just because if you run out of ammo in your primary and you can't access ammo, having unlimited ammo in your pistol is huge. I'm unsure if this will work with the double primary card. If it does, that's nuts, and I think this actually might be one of the best combos in the game. But I haven't been able to test that, and again, I'll either test it and put it in the description or comments, or maybe one of you have tested this already and can let me know. Last card in PvP in the Back for Blood beta is Run and Gun. You can shoot while sprinting. This is not really a great card. It's decent, but it's not really that good. I think it's better in campaign. But I guess if you're trying to run away from something, the problem is if you're running away from something, you're facing the wrong way. So like if you turn around and you run and now the bruiser is behind you, you can't sprint and shoot behind you at the same time. You can only shoot in front of you. So it really only works, I think, for common infected that might be in front of you. So I think it's not that great. Now there was a ton of cards, so this is actually a fairly long video. So I tried to get through as quick as I could, not ramble too much about one card. If you enjoyed this video and it helped you at all, please consider subscribing. Let me know in the comments that it helped you. It'd mean a lot to me. There's also, of course, all my other socials in the description. But yeah, that's going to be it for me for now. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in another video, and until then, see you soon.